Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 1 of the Glass-Eyed Jimmy Project. My name is Danny, your untrained, unscripted, and largely unfunded host for this adventure. If you're new to our channel, go over and check out our intro video. That'll give you a better idea of what you just got yourself into. So for the last couple of days, I've been trying to determine what the best point in history was for us to start this journey. Industrial Revolution, precursors to World War I. But I finally picked the 1933 business plot, a coup to overtake the United States government and insert a fascist dictator. Just a reminder, on this channel, we're only talking about factual events, things that really happened. We need to be able to find supporting documentation for each event before we'll even discuss it.
So it was a conspiracy in 1933 in the United States to overthrow the government of the president of Franklin D. Roosevelt and install Smedley Butler as dictator. A retired military corps major general testified under oath that wealthy businessmen were plotting to create a fascist veterans organization with him as its leader and use it as a coup d'etat to overthrow Roosevelt.
Before we go any further, I have to ask you guys, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. This is a brand new channel on YouTube, and we all know how it works. We're not going to get any traction. We're not funded by some tech bro or financial tycoon who's going to hand YouTube a couple $100 million to push us up to the top of the algorithm. It's going to happen organically. So there's a couple things that really do help propel us, and that is subscribers, hitting the like button, even if you don't like the video, leaving a comment, especially a positive comment. Those 3 things really do actually help channels like this get started.
I emphasize to you that the deep question in this campaign is one of confidence in leadership.
The other thing I should tell you before we move forward is we need some teamwork here. It's just me. I'm behind the scenes doing hours and hours of research. If you have any knowledge or intel on a particular subject that we're discussing, leave me some breadcrumbs down in the comments. I will look at them and I will follow up. If we end up using any of your material in a future episode, I will definitely give you credit for that intel. I told you this is unscripted. We chose the 1933 business coup as our starting point for a few key reasons. This is the height of the Great Depression, 25% unemployment rate, over 15 million people out of work, many of them veterans from World War I.
Prosperity is just around the corner, say the hopeful headlines. But around the corners wind the lengthening bread lines, and a whole new class of citizens appears in American society, the new poor.
There has never been a larger divide between the haves and the have-nots in the United States. 95% of the country is struggling just to put food on the table, while the other 5%, the titans of industry, the wolves of Wall Street.
Their estates, scattered like precious jewels across the Northeast, tell a story of American ambition filtered through European refinement.
The popularity of golf in New York can be attributed to several factors. The golf course became a place where business deals were negotiated, friendships flourished, and a sense of community developed.
This is also the first term of newly elected Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the beginning of his New Deal. Newly elected Roosevelt didn't exactly get off on a good foot with Wall Street.
I want to talk with the people of the United States about banking. Comparatively few understand the mechanics of banking. Your government does not intend that the history of the past few years shall be repeated. The phantom of fear will soon be laid.
During his first week in office, FDR declared a federal banking holiday and closed all of the nation's banks for an entire week. all banking transactions were suspended in an effort to stem bank failures and ultimately restore confidence in the financial system. In that same week, Congress passed the Emergency Banking Act, and FDR signed it. This first New Deal law legalized Roosevelt's proclamation and gave him unheard of authority over the nation's privately owned banking system.
But their efforts have been cast in the pattern of an outworn tradition. Faced by failure of credit, they have proposed only the lending of more money. Stripped of the lure of profit by which to induce our people to follow their false leadership, they have resorted to exhortations, pleading tearfully for restored confidence.
FDR's New Deal policies brought an increase in public work programs, more help for the poor, and the removal of the dollar from the gold standard.
Initially, most currencies were pegged to gold directly, as the name gold standard suggests. People could walk into a bank and exchange a piece of paper money to gold.
On April 5, 1933, Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102. This meant that banks would no longer convert dollars to gold. It prohibited ownership of more than 5 ounces of gold, and all Americans were required to sell their gold to the Federal Reserve for $20.67 per ounce. Following this, Congress passed the Gold Reserve Act, and Roosevelt artificially raised the price of gold from $20 the Americans had been paid to $35. This devalued the US dollars they had exchanged the gold for and increased inflation.
Yet while history remembers FDR as a visionary saviour in America's hour of need, some at the time saw him in a very different light.
So I'm in here doing research, re-educating myself on the New Deal. It's been a minute. And I stumbled across this name, Zangara. Did you have the same reaction that I did? Like, I can remember that name, but I can't remember why I remember that name. He tried to assassinate President Roosevelt in Miami in 1933. I've been digging into this, and guess what? I found video.
The president-elect finishes his impromptu talk and prepares to drive on to the railway station when the startled onlookers suddenly realize what has happened. Pandemonium reigns, and the crowd, led by American legionnaires in their glistening helmets, counts assassin Zangara. William Sinnott, one of the injured, makes his way out of the crowd on the left. Mayor Cermak, critically wounded, is carried to Mr. Roosevelt's car. Resting in the arms of the president-elect, he is rushed to a hospital. They've got him. The Secret Service man load him on the rear of the car and hustle him away to jail.
There was a woman standing next to him, and evidently he stood up on a folding chair because he's a short guy, aimed, took one shot, she saw him, moved her purse to one hand, took her other hand, and knocked the gun up as he was firing. She's credited with saving Roosevelt's life.
And now, the heroine, the woman whose courage all the world applauds. She probably saved Mr. Roosevelt's life by deflecting the assassin's aim. Mrs. W.F. Cross of Miami.
Like a crazy man. My first thought was to get it. I knew he was shooting at the president, so my first thought was to get the pistol up in the air so he wouldn't hurt any of the bystanders.
Went to trial for attempted murder because nobody had died yet. Got convicted. 4 counts, attempted murder. The judge gave him the max 20 years per attempt, 80 years. As Zangara's walking out of the courtroom, he turns around, looks at the judge, and goes, "Hey, judge, 4 times 20 is 80. Why are you so cheap with me? Why don't you just give me an even 100?
Why you killed Mr. Roosevelt? What for in your mind?
I told you before. I have all
capitalist.
All the time in the mind, I get capitalists to killing me. I suffer from this thing in the stomach for the capitalist. So no, for the capitalist, I know I have this sickness in my stomach.
He make you work.
He make me work.
Joe, you get a chance tonight. You would shoot the president tonight?
I can't shoot no more.
If you give you a chance.
I should give him a chance, I should again.
You don't like him for president.
That's all.
This is the hard part about doing forensic history, especially of this nature, is that you get detoured. Like, I could spend probably 6 hours digging into this guy and find your surprise face. There is a conspiracy theory attached to him. Fairly credible conspiracy theory from what I've read so far. But we're not going to go down that road, not yet. We're going to put that back on the back shelf, because I do think eventually, farther down the road, we may come back and revisit this. He shares quite a few characteristics with other people who have either tried to or assassinated. You know, as I was sitting here doing this, I was going on grabbing pictures of Wilkes Booth. I mean, anybody who had taken a shot at a US president, senator, somebody of importance. And I stuck them all in the line. I didn't really realize how much they actually do look alike until I stuck them in there. I'm going to replay it for you guys. We're not going down any conspiracy roads. We're not talking about anything that we can't prove with documentation. I will, however, list all the reference material either on this video or no. We're going to start a Patreon page. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you for any money. But I think this is the best way to safeguard our research material. There's a ton of it. I mean, there's a bunch of really interesting documents. There's a bunch of books that you can read. That way, if you want to dive in deeper, you'll know where to start. If it gets to the point where this channel grows and we start adding extra content and doing special things, then we'll revisit the free plan. But for right now, just go over to Patreon, type in an account, and then you'll have access if you want it.
Such powerful enemies had been made within 100 days of FDR taking office in 1933.
Hang on, while we're still distracted, before we dive back in, I did find another piece of video last night concerning Roosevelt. And I think you guys will find this really compelling, especially when you compare it to modern day politics.
Senator's pitcher Jimmy DeShong captures this very rare footage of FDR walking with his leg braces. Ultimately, FDR comes to an agreement with the press. No photos of him walking or getting in and out of cars. This footage shows the security detail signaling for the cameras to cut as FDR prepares to leave his car.
Can you imagine today, the current president we have walking out of the White House and one of his press people going, "Hey guys, that's it, no more video." And everyone go, "Oh, okay, yep, turn off the camera." There's no way they would comply with that. Not in today's world. Completely different society, completely different world. Yeah. All right, let's get back on track.
On April 5th, 1933, Roosevelt ordered all gold coins and gold certificates in denominations of more than $100 turned in for other money. It required all persons to deliver all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates owned by them to the Federal Reserve by May 1st for the set price of $20.67 per ounce. By May 10th, the government had taken in $300 million of gold coin and $470 million of gold certificates. In 1934, the government price of gold was increased to $35 per ounce, effectively increasing the gold on the Federal Reserve's balance sheets by 69%. This increase in assets allowed the Federal Reserve to further inflate the money supply.
There were major elements in the business community that hated Roosevelt.
FDR's New Deal had just launched, and some wealthy elites weren't happy about it. They feared he'd shift the country too far left and hurt their profits. So a group of influential financiers and corporate leaders allegedly approached retired Marine Corps General Smedley Butler. Their pitch? Lead an army of 500,000 veterans, stage a coup, and take control of the White House.
In his testimony before Congress, Butler states that he was repeatedly visited by a somewhat shady cast of characters associated with the American Legion and a series of Wall Street and New York banking and bond trading firms. In July 1933, the first of these men suggested that Butler attend a Legion convention to deliver a prepared speech on the importance of returning to the gold standard and supporting a bonus for veterans of the Great War.
Let me tell you something. I've been all over the world. I've seen you fellas on the streets in Washington. There isn't this well-behaved group of citizens in the world that's sitting right in this camp. Take it from me. This is the greatest demonstration of Americanism we've ever had. Pure Americanism. Willing to take this beating as you've taken it. Stand right steady. You keep every law. And why in the hell shouldn't you? Who in the hell has done all the bleeding for this country and for this law and this Constitution anyhow but you fellas?
Butler supported the soldiers' bonus, but he had no desire to attend the convention and become involved in backroom politicking. The clique repeatedly approached Butler before the convention, repeatedly attempted to bribe him with many thousands of dollars, and repeatedly Butler refused. Eventually, the men resolved to appeal to his sense of reason and revealed more of their plan. Butler was supposed to raise and lead a massive contingent of veterans and soldiers to practically force President Roosevelt to appoint him to the cabinet as the newly minted Secretary for General Affairs, leaving Butler to rule the country while the president remained a figurehead. The conspirators drew upon extensive travels from Germany and Italy to Stalin's Soviet Union, concluding that a bit of fascism was both necessary and proper in the United States as well. Should Butler continue to refuse, the plot's backers would move instead to other candidates, including General Douglas MacArthur. If you get 500,000 soldiers advocating anything smelling of fascism, I am going to get 500,000 more and lick the hell out of you. And we will have a real war right at home, Butler told the conspirators.
Now, immediately after making that statement, Butler filed a report with the FBI and the United States Congress. A committee was formed. An investigation started. Testimony was taken.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans, to use as a bluff or as a club at least, to intimidate the government and break down our democratic institutions. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government. I talked with an investigator for this committee who came to me with a subpoena on Sunday, November 18th. He told me they had unearthed evidence linking my name with several such veteran organizations. As it then seemed to me to be getting serious, I felt it was my duty to tell all I knew of such activities to this committee. My main interest in all this is to preserve our democratic institution. I want to retain the right to vote, the right to speak freely, and the right to write. If we maintain these basic principles, our democracy is safe. No dictatorship can exist with suffrage, freedom of speech, and press.
I had to play that twice. Man, what a great little speech. And could you just imagine General Butler after a couple bourbons on a Friday night? That would probably be a really good conversation.
The investigations mysteriously turn to vapor when it comes time to call them to testify. FDR's main interest was getting the New Deal passed. And so he struck a deal in which it was agreed that the plotters would walk free if Wall Street would back off of their opposition to the New Deal and let FDR do what he wanted.
Yeah, I wish this had a happy ending, but it doesn't. They had the hearings, they heard the testimony, they found that there was evidence of an attempted coup, and Roosevelt walked in, locked the door, and said, here's how it's going to go. We're going to prosecute you for treason, or you're going to support the administration, you're going to support all my fiscal policies, and in exchange, we're going to let you walk away free. And we're going to redact your names from all the testimony and all the evidence. And that's exactly what happened.
It is a fight for the integrity of American principle.
So that's the end of the story for the 1933 business coup, but that is not the end of our story. In fact, this is where it really starts to get interesting. Because even though no charges were filed and all the names were redacted, there's still a lot of very familiar names that kept popping up while we're doing research. DuPont, J.P. Morgan Jr., Robert Sterling Clark, Grayson M.P. Murphy, the Harriman brothers. So while I was reading about the Harriman brothers, I came across this.
Prescott Bush, he goes off to Yale, gets into Skull and Bones, becomes friends with the two Harriman boys, Averill and Roland. Their father dies, and they're young, but they inherit his empire, and they need someone to run it. And Prescott Bush gets married to Dorothy Walker. Her father, George Herbert Walker, is one of the more prominent people in the financial markets, and they move him out to New York, and he becomes the guy who's running their operation. He merges them, Harriman, into Brown Brothers. It becomes Brown Brothers Harriman. So all of this stuff is extremely linked, and it goes way back, and it's got tentacles.
Prescott Bush's involvement with the Union Banking Corporation, UBC, during the 1930s and 1940s has been a source of significant controversy. The UBC, where Bush served as a director, managed the American assets of Fritz Thyssen, a German industrialist who was among the first major supporters of Adolf Hitler. Thyssen played a crucial role in funding the rise of the Nazi Party through his vast industrial empire.
The next episode is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to dive in to the mid to late 1930s banking relationship between the U.S. banks and the German banks. We're also going to talk about Yale University and Skull and Bones. If you have any intel regarding that, leave it down in the comments, because for the next week or two, I'm going to be diving in deep doing research, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we've discovered. Everyone, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, hell, even if you didn't enjoy it, hit the subscribe button, hit like. We'll see you after we do some research, probably about 10 days, and we'll have another video out.
And then H.W. Bush's son, W. Bush, was also in Skull and Bones, which is the secret society at Yale that is like for the super elite. And if anyone wants to go to the Skull and Bones Wikipedia page and go to the there's a Wikipedia page for the members of Skull and Bones, and it's got some big names on it.